Hello guys, welcome to Sip Code, and today we are looking at another cup of code. Uh, so the focus of today will be HTTP client in Angular. So HTTP client is a powerful tool that allows you to easily make HTTP requests in your Angular applications. So in this video, we want to cover some basic stuff or basic methods on the HTTP client. These will include the get, the post, the put, and the delete. So we'll be focusing on doing that. And let's just get right into it without wasting any of your time. So the first things first, if you want to have the HTTP client, we want to import that into our ng module. So let's just add that here. What you want to have is HTTP client module, and let's just do that. Okay, let me just add it here. HTTP client module. Let me just import it here. So HTTP client module, which is this one here. No, it's not supposed to be on declarations. Let me just do this because Angular can actually resolve this for us. We just want to edit here on the imports. Let's edit here, HTTP client module. Right, that's fine. Sorry about that, guys. Let's just import this guy here. Let's do that. And this guy is coming from Angular. It should be in commons, and it should be HTTP. Right. Okay, so it's a common module, so it will come from commons, and it is an HTTP module. So that looks good, looks happy. Now we have HTTP client plugged into our application, and what we want to do further is now interact or use the HTTP client to actually send and receive API requests on our backend. So if you know and you follow my channel, you would know that I'm already busy with Spring Boot REST APIs. So I'm creating a backend over there for a to-do list. And if you want to watch that, please do go and watch that, guys. I would recommend it for you if you're a beginner on Spring Boot and you want to understand the back end as well. So this time we just focus on the front end and how we can call our APIs at this point. So from my previous tutorial, you would have seen on the previous episode that we already have a custom folder here which is for our services, and I will add I actually want to add a service here on custom. So let's go cd to that. Now I want to ng generate service, and I want to call it integration. Yeah, should be integration. That should be fine. Generate that for me, please. Let's just wait for it, for Angular to give us that service. Boom. Right, so now we have an integration service. Just as we have the dialog service, our integration service will be available globally because it's provided in root. So that looks good. And we want to plug in the HTTP client at this level. So now let's just plug that in ASAP. We want to say private, let's say HTTP. You can call it HTTP or HTTP client to be more specific, so that maybe it's clear for you guys. Let's say HTTP client, then it's going to import that. So the import is resolved. Now we have HTTP client available at the service level. So now I'm going to use the integration services for all my calls, but I recommend in our case, our APIs are, let me just make this shorter. So we have category, we have to do, we have to do item. So I actually recommend that create services for each of the modules, and then you know that when you actually come here and say, let's say the service will be get category details, right? Or let's say get category list rather. Yeah, let's do it that way. So if this service is specifically for categories, you know that you say category integration service, and then you call that particular service at the point where you need it, and you can just use it as and when needed, not to just plug in this huge service that we have here and then use that. So let's just see what we have here. So the category list, let's just get category list. This is the endpoint. All right, that is fine. So now let's go in here. I'm gonna hard code this a bit. So let's just do HttpClient here. We wanna get that, and we will essentially pass in the endpoint that we want to pass in. Then we're going to subscribe this so that we get the response. And what we want to do here is to say give us the response, and that we can just pipe that quickly. Okay. Right, so now we have let me see, do you want to console this? Yeah, we can console it, that's fine. Console.log, and we can just say response. Right, so for now we're just gonna log it and we will see what it gives us. So let's just take this API endpoint as is. Let's just do that, save this, and then now we have the get category list, which is fine. And then we want to actually go to our app module, to our app component rather. Let's just go there, and what we can do here, let's see, yeah, let me do it on users. So I do have a function for users, so I want to inject, let's just inject integration, and I'm gonna import integration service. Right, so let's just do this quickly. Then we're gonna say this dot integration dot get category list, and that's that. So we won't be doing anything fancy here. We just want to console log the integration, the get category list on the console, and see how that looks like. So let's just start up the application. Let's just do ng build. Just wait for that. Okay, now it's coming up. So this will just do a get for us while it's building. Let's just wait for it. So on the application side, on the front end side, so when I click on users, it will then kick off this API call, and it will then log the response for us and see what we get from there. Let me just check the API if it's running. So our backend is running. It's not complaining about anything, so everything's looking good. So let's see how it's doing its thing. So in the same way, let's just do the other 4 while it's still building, because it's just gonna pick up that. Let me say create category, right? So let's just do that. And in the same way for a create, so this will be, just do, come on. This is HTTP get, just some small comments here, and this will be, let's take this, HTTP post, then let's do HTTP put and HTTP delete. Right, so we have those. So we have HTTP get, HTTP post, which then in this case, what we want to do here is to say pass in data, which could be anything. So we want to abstract the data type because we haven't scaffolded an interface for it yet. So once we scaffold an interface, we pass in the category interface here, then it will know what to expect. So now we're going to pass that, and then we say this dot HTTP client dot that one will be create. So we will do a post here, and we will do the same thing. So there's nothing fancy on this one. We are doing essentially the same thing. Let's just take this as is. Let's take this part here as is, and we'll just post that. We'll just paste that here. Let me just remove this. So we're going to paste that here, and we are going to pass in the data here. So we're going to pass in two parameters now because we are posting data to our API, and the API is that. So if you look at our API here, for a create, which is a post here, that's the API endpoint, and we're going to use that here. Right, so the building is done, it's looking good, everything's not complaining about anything. So let's do the other methods, and let me take this part as well. So I can actually take this function, and then I'll update it here. So we're gonna say this one will be update, which also takes in a data parameter. But instead of a post here, we're going to do a put, and that still remains, everything else still remains, so that's looking good. And then we're going to do a delete, so let's just say delete category, and that's still fine. And we're also going to post some data here, and it should then delete that for us without any complaints. So we just do a delete here, boom, done. So these are essentially all the methods that you would need for HTTP client, and we're done. The only thing that is left now is to call these methods, and they will do exactly what we want them to do. So depending on what we want to do with the response, we can handle that accordingly. If you want to pass it back, return the response here, so that when we get to our component here, we use the data to expect the results, and then pass it maybe to our component that we want to show on the screen here. But for now, let's just log and see what happens there. So let's run the application, ng serve, just open it after it runs. So our integration points here are now looking good, and essentially that's it. So let's just wait for the application to come up, and we see this in action. Let's see. that. So now that's open. Let's just wait for it to come back. So let's click on users. Let's click on F12. All right, and let's say console output. Let's see what is there. All right, so let's clear the console. Actually, clear console. Right, so let's click on users. Right. So access to HTTP at blog by CORS policy. Okay, this is a CORS issue that we need to resolve, and we want to deal with that ASAP. So let's check on that quickly. So to go about resolving this one will be, I'm going to do this the amateur way, and then later on we're gonna look into interceptors in the next episode. So let's just resolve this one quickly. So we want to add that header for our request. So we're gonna do let HTTP, let's say header options, and we want to add headers. We just want new HTTP headers. So that should be that. Right. So in here we are going to pass in access allow origin, which you want to pass in as that for now. So everything should be fine. Of course, we can just limit it to the current application, but for now let's just use that one. It should be enough. Then you want to say method, and the methods that we want to execute, the HTTP methods, will be post, get, put, delete. So this should be fine for us. And then we will add one last one for headers, and then let's just do that. Headers, then we should say take everything. So that's fine. So on the next episode, we will see how we can use interceptors to add all these on our requests. So for now, we can just pass in the HTTP header options. So that should be good enough for what we want to do. Let's save this. It will auto deploy our changes. Then we come back here, refresh, and now let's see this. So we still get that, and then now what we need to check is our application, our API actually. So on our API, I do have the security set up here to allow everything. So what I need to do now is just add a cross origin here. So cross origin, just allow everything, which is what I want for now at that endpoint. Now when we come back, let's see, the application also deployed here, so our API is ready. Let me just refresh here, then click on that, and then boom. So now that has been resolved. We know that from the application side, we do pass in the headers here, and also on our application, on our backend service side, we already allow cross origin on the APIs that we have. So that looks good, and we can start consuming our data. And because we can see here, this is what we have from the API. So we have categories like groceries, laundry, groceries, notes. So obviously this is test data. Once you have the right one, then it will populate that. So we can then make further request in the same way. So essentially what we want to do is pass in that over here, but this is not what we want to do now. Just wanted to show you how you can implement this quite quickly and also resolve the CORS issue that we can come across. So on the next one, I'll be focusing on using interceptors to pass in this data so that you can start using all of these APIs with interceptors part of the conversation. And on to the next one, I want to keep this short and sweet, and we'll start plugging in our APIs quickly, and you will see and not get lost as to what we are doing. So guys, for now, this is it. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.